cracked one of these open in a while, in a video or in real life. I've heard so many mixed reviews about this, so we're gonna try it together and see what I think. I've heard people say candle. I kind of get it. It tastes just like the Hawaiian shaved ice one. Not bad, not my favorite, but I needed a pick-me-up, so hi friends, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to Bookmas Day 2. I hope the past couple of days have been really nice for you guys. Today I am coming to you in a very cozy sweatsuit to talk about all of the books that I read in the months of October and November. I didn't do an October wrap-up because it was too late in the month of November, so I figured we would just combine them today. I cannot tell if this angle is crooked or not because my tripod is so fucked up. Hopefully that's better, but I have no idea. I have a lot of books to talk about, so we're just going to dive right in today. In the month of October, I managed to read 2 romance books, 2 mystery/thrillers, 1 fiction, and 1 graphic novel, giving us a total of 6 books for the month, which this year has been basically my usual. That's my average, if you will. So I was very pleased with that, especially given how much I was working and how sick I was throughout the entire month. I do have a vlog where I was sick and read like 4 of those books. If you want to go watch it, I'll have it linked down below. Then in the month of November, I read 4 romance books, 3 mystery thrillers, and 2 fantasies. Who is proud of me? I know. Finally reading some fantasy, getting into my fantasy era. That gives us a total of 9 books read in the month of November, so a much better month quantity-wise. In between the 2 months, I managed to read 15 books, which is really good. It put me decently far ahead in my reading goal for the year. So, with all of that being said, I am not going in chronological order of how I read these. I grouped them by genre. We are, of course, going to start with romance. So we'll start with the 2 oddballs because I read 3 books in a series. The 2 outliers, if you will, fell in the month of November. The first one being Cruel Winter with You by Ali Hazelwood. They were actually both by Ali Hazelwood, and they were actually both holiday novellas, which is the perfect start to our Bookmas wrap-up. Cruel Winter with You is a short story that was published with Amazon for their little short story collection for the holidays that they did, which I am very excited to continue on in. But basically we are following Jessie and Mark, and they grew up together. They were super close, the epitome of childhood friends, because Jessie was actually best friends with Mark's older sister, and they had always had this really special connection that throughout the course of the novella was really beautiful to read. I truly loved this one. I ended up giving it a 5 out of 5 stars, even though it was a short story, because I was just obsessed with it. But essentially we are getting Jessie and Mark in the present day, as well as some flashbacks so that you understand their connection. But Jessie is headed over to Mark's house in the what? I think I'm having a stroke. In the middle of a winter storm on Christmas Eve because she needs to borrow a pan that her dad requested. Mark is really upset about this and has Jessie stay because it is not safe for her to walk a mile in this storm. And they had a bit of a falling out, you find out, but you're not fully sure what it is. It's obviously revealed later on in the story. Over the course of the evening, while Jessie is staying at Mark's parents' house, they kind of hash everything out and come clean about how they're feeling. There's a miscommunication thing that was honestly done really splendidly. I was pretty impressed with it. So I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars. Again, just reminded me why I love Ali Hazelwood so much, and I cannot wait to read more of her in the new year. Then I listened to 2 Can Play by Ali Hazelwood, which again, loved so much. This one is following, I don't remember their names. Viola. Jamie is the name of the female protagonist in Cruel Winter with You. Jessie is the male love interest in 2 Can Play. Sorry. They were a little similar though. 2 Can Play, these are obviously rivals because I think that's what Ali Hazelwood likes to do best, but honestly, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I am here and eating it up every single time. I think I gave this one a 4.75 for no real reason other than the fact that it didn't have a 5-star feeling. It was still really good and I still really enjoyed it. We're following our 2 main characters who work in separate indie video game companies, like they create video games, and this company wants their companies to work together to create this video game that our female main character grew up reading the books for as a kid with her dad, so she's really passionate about it. She loves the story and she loves the game. The employees of the two companies don't really get along that well, and so they have to go to basically a week-long cabin team bonding situation to kind of get over all of those obstacles and make sure that they can work together before actually starting this project. We see our two main characters who have interacted in the past and for one reason or another don't like each other right now. The female main character is very confused on why the male main character doesn't like her, but because of that she doesn't like him, because some things happened where she was really embarrassed. So she's not looking forward to this trip at all, but of course they fall in love. Again, the miscommunication was done really well. I thought that it was very realistic and not annoying, because it wasn't something that it was just like, you guys could have talked about that and gotten over it. 4.75 out of 5 stars to that. I also think that if you're looking for some holiday romances, both of those are good. If you're looking for a wintry set one without it being too heavily Christmas involved, I think Two Can Play is a really good option. It takes place the week before Christmas, but it's got like a snowball fight and things like that in it, which give you fun winter vibes without being a Christmas story. Just thought I would throw that out there if you're looking for that. If you like Ali Hazelwood's books, I think you will like both of those because they are just true Ali Hazelwood style. Moving on to the other 3 romances that I read over the past 2 months. They are all in the same series. Look at me. Over the past 2 months, I have started the Windy City series. So I have Mile High, which is the first book that I read in the month of October, actually. I loved this. I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars, if I remember correctly. We are following Stevie and Xanders. Xanders plays for an NHL team in Chicago, and Stevie is a flight attendant for his team for the season. There is absolutely no fraternizing with the team, but they kind of get off on the wrong foot, and so they have this dislike to love situation going on, which creates really good banter, and the payoff is done really well. I loved the connection that the two characters had. I know a lot of people usually DNF this one and just go into the rest of the series. I truly didn't understand why, because I thought that this was really enjoyable. It is a lengthy one, but I felt, I don't know, like really accomplished by the end of finishing it. This is a hockey romance, like I said. And both the characters are dealing with some familial issues that they have to get through on their own, which is where a good amount of the conflict comes from. But again, it felt very grounded in reality, and the characters helped each other really well. I felt like they were very complementary and the relationship made sense, but the relationship was beneficial to them as human beings and their development, which is always an added plus. Like, not that your partner has to make you a better human, like it's not their job, but bonus points if they do by default. I really appreciated their communication. I think that the conflict at the end could have been resolved a little bit quicker, so I found that kind of annoying, which is where I docked half a star. But I think that if you like hockey romances, you like really good banter, Liz Tomford is definitely an author that you should look into trying. Like I said, I know a lot of people skip this one. I personally didn't see why. I really liked it. So if you like similar romances to me, I think you will like this, but I am also apprehensive in saying that because I know how many people have given up on this one. Then I continued with The Right Move, which is the second book in the Windy City series. These are all interconnected standalones, and you don't have to read them in order, but I would recommend it. I think especially for book 3 into book 4, you should read them in order. I think it just gives you a more enjoyable reading experience. The groundwork that Liz Tomford does in each previous book is done really well. Except for Mile High into this one. I didn't necessarily love Ryan and Indy's connection in the beginning, which is why I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I also didn't feel super connected to them as characters. I did really like their romance, and if you are an acts of service girly and you like acts of service in your romance books, you will definitely love Ryan, and he will be a new book boyfriend for you. But we are following Ryan, who is an NBA player and the twin brother of Stevie from the previous book, and Indy, who is Stevie's best friend. She had walked in on her previous boyfriend cheating on her, and so she needs a place to stay. Stevie says that she can stay with her brother. Her brother is not very pleased by this. He's very clean, very type A, and Indy is not a mess, but I would say chaotic. Ryan doesn't love sharing his space. He also has some things that he needs to deal with throughout the course of the book personally from his past. So because of that, he's very closed off and not very open to love in general. Indy is very much a hopeless romantic, but also just had her heart broken, and so she's not really in a place to be in another relationship. Ryan becomes team captain for his basketball team, and his boss or owner, whoever it is, doesn't think that he has the personality for it. A lot of people are very scared of him, and so when he hears that Ryan may have a girlfriend, he's very pleased by this. He thinks it will make Ryan open up, and so Ryan and Indy fake date because Indy also has a wedding to go to that her ex is going to be at, and she wants him to think that she has moved on. So throughout the course of this book, they are fake dating and trying to also show each other that they are worth more than other people have allowed them to believe in the past. It is really sweet. It's another very complimentary romance. Like I said, I think Liz Tomford really thrives in that area. I will probably always pick up her books. She's kind of an auto-buy author at this point, now that I've read and really enjoyed 3 of them. But this tends to be a lot of people's favorite book in the series, so if you're not loving Mile High, try this one and see what you think from there before giving up on the series as a whole. Not the last book been published in the series, but the last one that I have read so far, Caught Up by, again, Liz Tomford. This one is following Kai and Miller, who are side characters in the first book. Kai is an MLB player who is also a single dad because he had a one-night stand while he was on the road, and the woman that he had slept with shows up 6 months after delivering their child and says, "I can't do this anymore. Here's your kid. I don't want any involvement." Since then, he has been taking his job as a dad really seriously and even considering retiring from his MLB position because he wants to spend more time with his son. The thing that I'm really realizing here is that Liz Tomford has such well-developed characters, such fleshed out characters. She really gives you their backstory to understand why relationships might be complicated for them going forward, but they also feel like three-dimensional people that you would meet on the street. Enter Miller, who is the daughter of the coach for Kai's baseball team, and she wants to take the summer off from baking. She is a professional baker. She has a James Beard Award is what I think it's called. So she's really well renowned as a pastry chef. A lot of people hire her to help them in their kitchens for a few months, but she decides to take the summer off. Since she won that award, she hasn't been able to bake like she used to be able to. She's really stressed out, overwhelmed because she has a lot of other things coming up, and she just wants to take some time to be with her dad. Her dad kind of plays matchmaker and master planner and decides that Miller will be Kai's nanny for the summer because every nanny that Kai has had, he has fired. He doesn't like them. He doesn't ever think that they're good enough. Again, Miller and Kai get off on the wrong foot, but over the course of the summer come to really enjoy each other's company and fall for each other, but they both know that Miller is leaving at the end of the summer, so neither of them can get too attached. Really, really beautiful. This one is my favorite in the series. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. If you thought that you didn't like kids in books, highly recommend this one because Max is the cutest child ever, and he adds so much joy to the story. Like, I couldn't help smiling. Even aside from that, I was kicking my feet, giggling like an idiot while I was reading this book. It just made me so happy. Their banter was off the charts. The connection was there. They are, again, so complimentary. I thought it was the perfect length, perfect pace. I loved it. I ate it up. I couldn't stop reading it. So 5 out of 5 stars. One of my favorite romances that I've read this year. Highly recommend. Also, it sets up for book 4 so well. I'm like halfway through that one and loving it, and this is reminding me that I need to pick it up. So probably after this video is edited, I will be reading that. Moving on to the graphic novel that I read in October. I reread Lore Olympus Volume 1. I don't have too much to say about this one because I have talked about this series so much, and this was my 3rd time rereading this book. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I always do. If you haven't read a graphic novel, I think that Heartstopper is a really good one to start with, but I also think that this one is very good to start with. It is a Hades and Persephone retelling. A lot of like Greek mythology and lore is in it. I don't have too much more to say. We're following Hades and Persephone. Persephone is sworn to be a maiden goddess, I think, so she can't really be in any relationships with anyone or have relations with them. Hades has a really bad reputation in Olympus. Definitely look up content warnings before going into this one, but the art in here is beautiful. The story is so well done. There are going to be 8 volumes total, I think. 7 are out now. Highly recommend this one. I love this series so much. It is one of my favorite series, truly, of all time. And I need to finish it. If you were looking for a graphic novel to dip your toe into, look no further. Then the one and only fiction book that I read out of the 2 months, but I read this one in October, Daisy Hates the Great Undoing. This is the 4th book in the Magnolia Parks universe, but it is the 2nd book for Daisy. In this one, we are following Daisy, Julian, and Magnolia. I can't talk too much about this one, but I don't even know what I rated it. I think I would walk away from it giving it like a 3.75. I was very frustrated by the ending, but that was more so my boyfriend's fault because he told me that something happened that didn't happen. Was kind of pissed. I did really like this one. I just don't like Julian as a character, honestly. He is not one of my favorite characters. I don't necessarily find him to be redeemable, and I am very confused as to how other people are so quick to just be okay. Everything that happened in the first Daisy book, and I don't love the way that he treated Magnolia, so I don't have a ton of pity for him. These books are hard for me. I'm not as attached to Daisy and Christian. I also confused as to where Julian's storyline is going after this because I understand the purpose that it served in this, but I don't know how that will continue. I will continue these because I love Jessa Hastings' writing, and the amount of quotes in here were beautiful. Like, her writing is so lyrical. I love the experience of it. I just didn't necessarily love the story. Now we're moving on to the mysteries that I read. Let's start with the one that I read at the very end of October, and that is Staged by El Casamano. This is, again, from one of the Amazon short story collections that they did. I believe they called this one the Busybodies series. So this was the first installation. I need to go back and read the rest of them because I think that they're all like very fun. I read most of the Valentine's Day ones and I just really liked the experience. This one definitely wasn't my favorite. Again, very short. It was entertaining. It was cute. I liked reading it on Halloween. It was kind of fun. It wasn't anything that is super memorable to me, but it was just a fun, cozy mystery. So if you're not a person who loves to be scared or enjoys thrillers very much, but you want like a fun whodunit, I recommend this one. The stakes aren't super high. Someone is unalived, but it's not gory or graphic in any way, and it has a lighter feeling to it than a lot of other mystery thrillers. So 3 stars to this one. I won't say too much about it just because it's only 70 pages, but basically there is a girl who is a real estate agent and she's trying to sell this house, and while she's getting everything fixed up, someone is unalived and she's not sure who it was, but she thinks that they framed the wrong person, so she's trying to sleuth it out, essentially. The other book that I don't have physically here with me that I read in the month of November, I told you this was not going to be chronological, was Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. I think I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was very dark. It was very heartbreaking. This is about a girl who goes missing just before her last exam for secondary school, I think is what it's called. It's in the UK, so like high school. And we are getting a few different timelines, a few different perspectives. We are following Ellie's perspective leading up to everything that happened. We are getting the perspective of her mom, and then we are getting a perspective of another character. Lisa Jewell's books are pretty straightforward in that you can guess kind of what happened. As the story is unraveling, it's just that you keep reading because you want to know the intricate details, and her writing style is so engaging. So that it's not that this one was bad, it was just like a really depressing story, a really hard story to read, especially I would imagine if you are a parent. We're following her mom years after everything has happened, and as she also recounts what happened leading up to the disappearance of her daughter, especially as she meets this new man who might have a connection. His youngest daughter looks very much like her daughter who disappeared. Very creepy, and like, how are those two things connected? That is one thing that I will say Lisa Jewell does so well, is like mentioning 2 points of view in the synopsis and making you wonder how those are brought together, how they're related, which I think when any mystery thriller author can do that, it is a true testament to how well they can write. Because it was so like depressing and pretty straightforward, I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Definitely look up content warnings. This is one of the darker mystery thrillers that I have read. So far, of the Lisa Jewell books that I have read, this one is my least favorite. I with it being a 3-star. Then I read another Lisa Jewell book in the month of November after reading that one because I had this on my book of the month TBR for a really long time, and I have been trying to be better about reading my book of the month books, as you guys will have known if you have followed me for a while. I read The Night She Disappeared by Lisa Jewell. This is yet again about a mom whose daughter disappears. She is 19, and I think Ellie in the last book that I mentioned was like 16. Something like that. We are getting the perspective of the mom, the girl who went missing, as things were like leading up to the events of her disappearance, as well as this author who writes cozy mysteries, but they're published in another language, I think, or like in different countries, not in London. This author moves to this house because her boyfriend is going to be the president of this like university for troubled kids, and she sees a couple of weird things going on. The girl who disappeared with her boyfriend after a date night, but they also had a baby, and the mother of the girl who disappeared knows that she loved her child more than anything and she would never just leave him, so she fears something really bad happened to her and she just wants to find her. She just wants her to be okay. So we're following the mom, whose name I cannot remember right now, leading up to the events as well as after the fact. We are following the author about a year after the girl has gone missing, and then we are following the girl, like I said, leading up to her disappearance. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars, so my second favorite, kind of the middle ranked Lisa Jewell book of the 3 that I've read. I really liked this one. I found the story to be more engaging. I liked the plot of this one better. It was a bit slower moving though, which is why I only gave it a 4. I mean, 4 is not bad, but that's why it's not a 5. I would recommend this one. I think that this one is definitely a really good one. Even though it was slow, it was still really entertaining and I still wanted to know what happened. It was just the middle was a little bit like meandering, but once you've finished it, you know everything had to be there. This one is also sad. Definitely look up content warnings. I think going into Lisa Jewell's books, you should probably always look up content warnings just to be on the safe side. The first mystery that I read in the month of October, so rewinding a little bit, Good Bad Girl by Alice Feeney. This was my first Alice Feeney. I still haven't read another, but I have a couple saved on my Kindle because they are on KU if you wanted to read them. This one is another one where it was in the synopsis. I had read it and there were 2 very distinct storylines that didn't seem like they would be connected, but it says they are connected, and that was just so intriguing to me. I'll just read you the first line from the synopsis because it will explain it better than I ever could. 20 years after a baby is stolen from a stroller, a woman is murdered in a care home. The 2 crimes are somehow linked, and a good bad girl may be the key to discovering the truth. Again, how are those things connected? I had to know. The interesting thing about this one is upon finishing it, it was like heartwarming. I would recommend to read this one in the spring. That's around the time that it takes place. I feel like it would be best to read it then, but we are getting a few different perspectives. If you're looking for a book that you're going to fly through, highly recommend this one. I also think that Alice Feeney has such a way with writing where some of her lines will be so important and profound and really, really beautiful, which I don't always find in mysteries. I feel like I more so find those in like romances and literary fiction, but to find them in a thriller was really fun, especially one that is as page turning as this one. So I think I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. Wasn't a perfect book for me, but like I said, very short chapters, very engaging. The plot was really intriguing, and I left it feeling very like happy, which I did not expect going into it. I am not doing a good job at explaining books succinctly today, so sorry. Our last category, fantasy. Toward the end of October and the very beginning of November, I had a buddy read with Rylan for Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. I think this is mentioned in a reading vlog, maybe. If it is, I'll have that video linked below, but don't quote me on that. This is so fun. If you liked Caraval and Kingdom of the Wicked, I highly recommend this book. It is the first book in a series, but you get the ending like all wrapped up. It is a romantasy. We're following our main character Ophelia, whose mother passes at the very beginning of the book. When the oldest woman passes in her family, you have the opportunity to transfer the necromancy magic that they possess. That is how Ophelia's family has kind of survived. They've built a business off of that, and so Ophelia takes on the magic she has been trained to take on by her mother her entire life. She just wasn't expecting to do it so soon. Shortly after the passing of her mother, her and her younger sister Genevieve find out that their mom was actually in a lot of debt and they have to come up with a way to pay for it. Well, they have an argument about this and Genevieve disappears, and after going through some of her things, Ophelia determines determines that she probably went to what is called Phantasma. It's basically an event that is hosted by the devils from hell. It's a traveling event, so they go in different cities for different lengths of time, and during the event you have to go through 9 challenges, the first 7 being inspired by the 7 deadly sins, and they really test your limits. So Ophelia follows her sister in to try to find her, and while she is there she meets a phantom and they decide to help each other. She says she will help him be set free and he will help her with these challenges. Very fun. Definitely a very quick read, even though it is as thick as it is. I think I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I am really looking forward to the next one, and like I said, like Caraval and Kingdom of the Wicked, this is a must read. Was so good. The banter was so good. The romance was really well done. Last book, One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. I finally read this. I've explained this book so many times and now I don't know how. We are following our main character Elspeth, who has magic because when she was a little girl she got this illness that has taken over quite a bit of her town, unfortunately. And if you have this illness, a group of people organized and ordered by the king called Destroyers that have to come and take you to the dungeon and basically execute you because it gives you a magical power which is not allowed for individuals to have. However, there are magic, almost tarot cards in this world. If you were to collect all 12 of them, it would eradicate that as well as a mist that has taken over this land. Elspeth is the daughter of a man who was once the captain of the Destroyers, and they go to, her family attends this ball that is hosted by the king, and while she is there, she meets the king's nephew, who enlists her help to find these tarot cards and help cure his brother. Elspeth has the unique ability to see where these Providence cards are. I keep calling them tarot cards, but they're called Providence cards. And each one, if you tap it 3 times, will give you a source of magic that is the only legal magic in this kingdom. It is illegal to collect them, so they are committing treason by doing so. It's very dangerous. But it is a romantasy book. It's really good. Again, if you're looking for like a gothic fantasy romantasy, I would highly recommend this one. This is a duology and people say that the sequel is actually better. I will be reading that in the month of December if you did not see my December reset. That is it. That is everything that I read over the past 2 months. It was quite a lot. I read really good books the past couple of months, which is great. Definitely moving along in series, which makes me happy, and got quite a few books off of my physical TBR, which is always the goal. I even managed to find a new favorite romance, which makes me smile just as much as it did when I was reading it. So let me know if you've read any of these books or if they're on your TBR, what you thought of them, all of that good stuff. I love chatting with you guys, even if all you say is hi. I love you all so much. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you're doing well, reading, mentally, and otherwise, and I really hope to see you all in my next video in just a couple of days.